That's the main goal, is to build this kind, loving relationship with ourselves, because that's the version of us that's going to allow for all the things we're talking about. I'm going to trust myself more because like I've released the shame, and I release the shame because I can forgive other people for the things that maybe I've done. All
Yeah.
these things, they're powerful reflections, and it's annoying, but the main question is, what is this showing me about myself? If I have this big reaction, if I have this big disappointment, well, there's something for me to learn in that. Sometimes they're hard truths. Sometimes maybe I haven't always been the best friend. Maybe I've like abandoned people, or maybe I've let people down. As we get a window into that, we can start to make some peace with it, and then we can show up more powerfully for the next time.
Yeah. That's great. So you just touched on it a little bit there in terms of the self-compassion, but we've talked about it in a couple other episodes so far, and I imagine we'll continue to talk about it because it's prevalent, but that's the inner critic voice and how that can break down self-trust, right?
Yeah. Or believing this shaming voice of our past. We've talked about this before, where it actually could have been our parents. At one point, it's this voice of, I'm not doing what I'm supposed to be doing, or I did something bad, or I don't deserve this, or whatever it is. It's this voice that kind of pulls us away from the present moment. We're always trying to get back to this present moment, and so we have to create this detachment from the inner critic. We have to see it as the voice of our past. This commentary is, it's just things we've internalized over the years. And if it's a shaming voice, if it's very hypercritical, that is where we need to develop some deep sense of self-compassion, because that's a destructive voice. It doesn't lead to better results. I might be able to shame myself into doing some things, but I'm also operating out of shame. I'm going to feel miserable while I'm doing it. It's kind of this, you commonly see this with males, where it's a lot of their actions can be motivated by shame, but then they never let the shame go. So they might use it as a source of development, like lose weight, get in the gym, develop a skill, whatever it is. Generally, it's going to come from some sort of pain, but eventually we want to transform that pain and start to let it go. Because if not, it does create this really negative relationship with yourself. And that voice can get really harsh over time. And the gym example was a good one. If I'm not doing it, I might actually really be beating up on myself if I don't go to the gym when I say I'm going to. It might be an intense thing. That might lead us into maybe addictions and things like that. I have this really negative view of myself, or maybe some form of self-hatred going on. That's going to lead us to want to maybe numb things a little bit more, because that voice can be so harsh and intense. It's shifting our relationship with how we talk to ourselves. We always want to see it. How would you talk to a child? How would you nurture a child? How would you actually motivate them too? Is it, do we want to motivate them with fear, or do we want to motivate them with this positive outlook, or in this growth or development mindset? So all these things, it's important that we're going to have these thoughts and we expect them, but we don't have to listen to them. If anything, we can acknowledge them and accept that, hey, this is where I'm at right now in my relationship with myself. But if it is pretty harsh, like, I want to create some awareness around that. And I want to ask a question, start to ask those deeper questions of, how can I see the situation differently? How can I treat myself differently? What would be a better motivation for me rather than pain? We start to shift out of this negative relationship, because that does cause a lot of destructive behaviors and destructive thinking. The more we internalize negative things about ourselves, we can start to be pretty self absorbed too, where we're just primarily thinking about ourselves rather than others. With this work, as we heal a lot of these things, you naturally start to open up your system more to be more compassionate, and also you become a little bit more service minded, where it's like you want to help people, you want to do good things for other people, because you've kind of shifted out of just worrying about yourself all the time.